Hi, I'm Bonnie Glushon, and if you're seeing this, it means you're on our company website, so thank you for visiting our website, and I hope that you're finding content that's helpful to your business or to you personally. In these crazy times, we're trying to find different ways to connect with our customers and our team, and so the book recommendation idea came up a few times, but anyone can go read a review. We thought videos might be fun, so I'm going to give you a couple of my tips. So this book is by John Dornbos. It's called Life is Magic, and his story is amazing. It starts off one morning. His father had killed his mother, and his father takes him to school. He doesn't even know that his mother is lying dead in his garage, and his life forever is changed. He ends up in foster care, and he ends up playing in 2 Super Bowls and being on America's Got Talent and being a magician, and then going on to tell the story, and is a public speaker now, and it's an amazing story. So I hope you'll find some joy in that, even though it starts off tragically. So the next book, or books actually, I want to tell you about were written by a guy named Dan Abrams. Some of you may know him. He's the legal analyst, I think, on ABC. I have a huge crush on him, so I just want to read his books. I haven't actually read these yet. They're on my list to do, but they're also about history, which I find really fascinating. So for example, Lincoln's last trial, the murder case that propelled him into the presidency. And he also did other books with Theodore Roosevelt and John Adams. And they're all true history. He took the documents from court cases that involved each of these stories, and so he's got the legal perspective, and he also has the history perspective, and all books were rated high and are bestsellers, and I think that those are going to be really good. That's on my list to read. So if you haven't read The Goldfinch, this is probably one of my favorite books ever. It's a really big book, as you can see, so a lot of people might say, oh gosh, I don't have time to read that book. Well, now you do. Everyone I know that's read this book has loved it, so if you haven't read it yet, you're in for a big treat. So the last book I want to tell you about is written by Michael Smerconish. It's American Life in Columns, Clowns to the left of me, Jokers to the right, and it has 100 of his columns that he's written over the years with an afterword to each of the columns. And those are particularly interesting because when he wrote different columns at the time, he had one perspective, and now rewriting them and bringing them into a book, he's added an afterword where he may have changed his perspective in some cases, which I think is particularly interesting. I also want to point out that all of the money raised from the sale of the book goes to the Children's Crisis Treatment Center, and so it's for a good cause. The book just came out on paperback, so if you're inclined to get it, it would be a great time to do so and help them raise some money for this great cause. There's so many good things in here that I really was having a hard time picking one thing, but the one thing that I'm going to pick out just to tell you about is something that has stuck with me all this time since I've read it and heard it, and it's about a gentleman by the name of Jose Melendez Perez, and most of you have never heard his name before. He is a true American hero. Arguably, it's Melendez we can thank for the fact that Flight 93 never completed its mission of striking a symbol of democracy in Washington and instead crashed into a field in western Pennsylvania. This gentleman saved gosh knows how many people's lives. And if there's no other reason to read this book than the story about him, I can tell you that story in itself is just so powerful. And I loved all the stories in it.